Hi guys, I'm gonna do one more. I know it's the kind of day. I only wanted to do 3, and I have other work here that I want to do. I have my writing to do. I have other things, but this is part of it, and I think it's important. I think it's important to address some of these people. This Deborah Clark, will you please find something else to do? Don't you have another life? Don't you have something else besides getting on every single one of my videos and writing a long diatribe about nonsense? The abuse and the harassment has been ungodly, okay? You don't have time to do anything. And if you'd educate yourself about being in a domestic violence situation, maybe you would understand a thing or two. And this is why I'm raising awareness and doing advocacy and sharing my story with you, because people like you do not understand. And there is many of you. You're in groups, you harass victims, you blame them, you accuse them of being drunk, you accuse them of what they're wearing, on and on and on and on. When you're in a situation like this, you don't prance around and say, oh, gee, I wonder if the locks work. I wonder if the water's going to be. This stuff is above and beyond regular, normal looking at apartments. And certainly when they come and they're banging on your door and the police push in your door for no reason at all and say you have anxiety and drag you down to the police station periodically, then every other apartment you try to rent, people know that they can get together because your anonymity wasn't protected, and they all can sit around like a bunch of clucking harpies and say, oh, she's got mental health issues. Bang, 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 bang. I've had my door banged down so many times. It's outrageous that the police department continues this. And you all continue this too, and it's harassment. Mentally ill people shouldn't be harassed every place they live. And I'm not mentally ill, you know? If you were, how sick that you continue to do this to somebody right out in the open on a website. How sick it is that you can constantly stalk someone, make up a bunch of stuff, bully them, harass them, and then get them kicked out of an apartment, which has been done repeatedly, which has nothing to do with checking out the basics in an apartment and making sure that everything's okay before you rent it. I shouldn't even be here. I should be in my home, okay? So every time I post a video, she gets together with all these other people. Well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? There's absolutely no support at all. And this is the problem when you go and you talk about domestic violence, you talk about sexual abuse. It's another gaslighting way to say, well, what were you wearing? Well, what were you wearing? What were you drinking? What were you doing to make him put his hands on you? Were you saying something? It's just like a bunch of harpies. And they've done this to me when I was a little kid and I said I was molested. Well, what did you do? Oh, you must have been a little 5-year-old girl prancing around looking for sex. Come on, just stop. When you're living in a situation like this, you can't, ask the landlord, gee, check out the number of people that live there. And gee, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? These are apartments that are on the lowest threshold because I did not get the assets that I deserve, that rightfully belong to me. These are apartments that are basically, not in such a great section of town. You're lucky if you get. Yes, Deborah, it would have been nice to sit back and look at apartments and decide which one I want and have lots of time to do that. You don't have that ability and not the ability, you're not being allowed to do that. You're not being allowed to pursue your life in the way that you should. You're being kicked around the city like trash. That's why it's called police brutality. Not only do they sexually assault you, but then they sit around like a little boy's locker room. Hee, 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 hee. Oh, it must have been what she must be crazy. And now she's in the apartment and, oh, well, let me see. I'll turn on my pewter and see if she thinks she has any investments. So you're going from apartment to apartment without being given due consideration for your rights, your assets, and your humanity, being a human being. And this is the way it was when I went through the court system. There's no regard for you as a human at all. You're just thrown on the street with $700 and you're scrambling to try to not only get over your fright, because it's extremely frightening to be forced into a dirty parking lot and then have police constantly harass you that they're going to arrest you. And I have made videos about homelessness, and I will continue. What a heinous thing it is. And then you get these people to say, well, homeless people, which is predominantly a lot of women of domestic violence situation. Oh, they're just drug addicts. They don't want to work. You don't want to try hard. You don't want to work. I loved my career. I loved my job. I don't mind work. I'd like to be working right now. I'd like to be able to check out apartments and pay what I should have been able to pay and have a nice apartment and go forward with my life. You're not given that opportunity, because the more they can throw you around like trash, the more their narrative comes true, isn't it? I don't see one of you talking about the perpetrators. I don't see one of you talking about police violence. Even though we just had a big outpouring of BLM for months and months and months, okay, this was part of it, domestic violence and the way women are treated. But not one of you are on the page saying anything about that, because police do not handle these cases very well. And they certainly didn't with mine. And oftentimes you can see with Gabby Pietro, you can see with Dominic Pellico, this stuff has gone on for decades. And until the Me Too movement, we started questioning all this sexual harassment and how these cases are handled, and how when you throw someone around like garbage, they're not going to be able to do the things that they're and it's amazing that I'm able to do anything at all with the attacks, with the sexual violence. That was their answer to this. Okay, so she's in a domestic violence situation. Let's attack her again. Let's sexually assault her again. I don't see any of you talking about that. I don't see any of you giving the empathy and the consideration toward victims that you need to be showing. And it shows your incompetence, not mine. Okay, there's case after case after case of the way these cases have been handled and the way people, and then they'll stand in front of a mic and say, oh, we just didn't know. Had we known, we would do something about it. Oh, next time we're going to take steps. Where's the accountability? Where are the steps that you're taking so this never happens again? They had a good old time every step of the way, whether it was social services, the hospital, domestic violence, Catholic charities, the police department, you name it. They all stood around laughing and joking and saying, ha, 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 go live on the street. You're a whore. I mean, come on. You all can do better. You all can do better.